for you. So welcome to another Friday Night Live Q&A, where we talk about freshwater aquarium keeping, whatever it may be. We never know what's going to come up and the questions that you guys come out and give us. And that's the beautiful part about it, because that's how we learn a lot, is by asking questions. And I have been doing this a long time with hundreds of aquariums in all kinds of different ways. And so this is a great place to brainstorm and get us all together and really talk about the hobby that we love so much. And many of you guys that do follow my channel know that I definitely have that multiple tank syndrome going, and very addicted to this hobby. Let me jump into live chat in here. Hello everybody in the chat. Good to see you guys. Aquarium Fantasy asking how I'm doing. Actually doing really good. Really good. Really excited. You know, sun's been out. It's actually been kind of summer weather. Feels like 91 degrees today, but it's actually been real dry. It's only about 45% humidity, so not really bad. And have been out playing with my tubs, which I absolutely love. My favorite time of the year, when spring's coming up, and being able to do stuff outside with my fish. It's one of my favorites. So super excited about that. Excited to share with you guys some of what's going on out there, plus the ambition for what I want to do out there in the future, which will just be phenomenal when I get it done. It's going to be a big mission, but I'm super excited about it. I got some really cool rice fish genetics going on out there right now. And of course, I'd always like to add to it. But hello, everybody else coming into the chat. I see all you guys. Good to see you guys. But I did get a chance to get a video edited for you guys as well. If you guys haven't noticed, I've been pushing a lot of shorts out, pretty much one a day now, trying to catch up with you guys and everything, and really show a little more of what's been going on in here and out there. And the video I had to make was one that I had to kind of like sit back on, take me a while to actually get out and put and edit, because it's one I did not want to make. You guys will see that video tomorrow, but I made it for you guys just for the good of the hobby and hopefully help some people. Spaghetti known as Anyway Aquatic Life says, site says 3 red rice fish left. What are the odds they're both sexes? Odds are actually pretty good. I'm surprised there's 3 left. I don't know why I thought those already sold. But if there's 3 left, you better snag them, because those aren't going to last long. And always good to see you, Spaghetti. Jeffro says, did you figure out a way to keep the predatory bugs out this tub season? So I did, and that's what I want to work on this summer and hopefully get done. I wish it was already done. I wish I had done it this winter, because the dragonflies are all starting to come out and do their thing. A lot of people told me dragonflies, they take like a couple of years to hatch and become a dragonfly. And I don't know how many dragonflies hatch out just in this first year. So I can imagine many are going to come back to try to breed. And also the frogs. The frogs are kind of a pain in my butt too. Got my trout Goodyear pond just covered with tadpoles. I don't think they can eat them fast enough. They got into my barb pond. And so I need something to keep dragonflies and frogs out. So I'm going to build a lanai out there, and that'll hopefully keep them all out. And then once I do that and keep that'll keep the leaves out, a lot of the debris out. And it would be huge for me as far as working with stuff outside, because I don't really want to go breeding anything in bigger than 110 gallons. Because when you do that, now I do have those little strip ponds, which I love those strip ponds. But part of me, I guess I'm just too sensitive to be like a fish farmer on like a mass scale. Granting, I'm trying to scale here, but I want to do it in a way that fits me better because I don't know. I don't like taking fish from a big water and putting them in the smaller water so much. But if I'm breeding a ton in 110 gallons and breaking them down to like a 20-gallon where it's just a few of them, they don't tend to mind that. But I like to think about the fish when I actually breed them, take care of them, and where they're going to go into their new homes and stuff. Hello, hello, everybody coming in. Tanya H says storms and flooding are just starting for us. Oh no, that's not good to hear. Sorry to hear that, Tanya. Saw some people had some real bad hail going, like Nebraska and stuff. Robert Johnson says, "Hey, I'm looking to selectively breed my Antijo Bosemani for more orange. Will the adult females influence the offspring of the males? I do need cherry pick females for the group." So if you're trying to selectively breed those Bosemanis, which the Antijos, those are like the smaller Bozeman eyes, um, you can definitely breed them out for color. It takes some processing to do, but you can definitely do that. And just try to find your best male and female with the traits that you're looking for. Then you'll have better chance of those traits getting pushed down the line. You could do it for more blue and or more orange. So you could definitely do it. Deacon Bean Cooter says, "What do you know about ancient fish cults?" I don't know. I don't know a whole lot. I can't say I ever dug into ancient fish cults. Now, it really depends on what you're like, actual fish or just the symbol. Because the Pisces and fish symbol, and even the Dagon, the Pope wears the Dagon, which is like a fish head. Then you get into some deep rabbit holes with that on who they're actually worshiping. Queen Blood of Ghosting says, "How do you feed the tiny baby goldfish in the giant pond tank, and how many gallons is that?" So I actually just crush up the granules in my fingers. That way it dusts around the pond, and I put that like in the plant area, and then I actually feed the regular goldfish more in the open space. So that way it gives it time to kind of settle in the guppy grass and they get a chance to actually eat them. But anytime I get babies, I definitely try to pull them out. Wesley's back here jump roping. He's waving. He wanted to tell you guys hi. Ish Lopez says, "One of my Anubis got some black algae on it. Any recommendations?" So more than likely, you've got driftwood in your tank. It always happens with driftwood. Blackbeard algae loves to eat off of it, and as it breaks down, and best thing to do is just remove your driftwood, do some water changes, maybe hit it with some hydrogen peroxide. Which, if you Google hydrogen peroxide and blackbeard algae, it'll give you a better dosage than I will off the top of my head. Do they make frog cats? I don't know, but I need one for sure. Could definitely use a frog cat. Matter of fact, my cat is in the barn right now, and I haven't seen her all day. I knew she was hungry, but I had to run here to do a live. So I hope she's doing all right. She should be. She's got a nice little bed to nap in there. But I do got a nice little barn cat, Squirt. She's really became the barn cat lately. JP Jeffrey says, "What program do you use to edit videos with?" Thanks, Lucas. So, shoot, what do I use now? I think it's just the Movie Maker, iMovie Maker, or something like that. Like the regular one. I have one of the fancy editors, but I don't like it. I like it like simple. I do wish I had an editor where I could like work two videos in one at once. I think they make those, but I haven't like really dove into actually getting it. But the one I use right now, it flows with me, and it's just like the iMovie Maker. Which when I use Media or Microsoft, I just use their regular um, Media Movie Maker too. Man, I need something to really scroll this thing because so hard on this new setup. Brock912 Brock says, "I got some pro weed clippings that are not long enough to plant really. Just plant them and float them. They should grow right." Yeah, you could either plant them, but just literally put the substrate on them. They'll grow up and out of the substrate as long as you're not planting them too deep. And then, or you can just float it. But it'll find its way to grow. Yeah, somebody must have sold you some short clippings. That's why when I sell mine, mine's like a ball. Like it's a clump of it. You can do all kinds of things with it. LibertyCoics.com. Deacon Bean Cooter says, "I want to breed ram's horns in 10-gallon. How often do water changes? Tank is planted." So if you're just breeding ram's horns, 10 gallons, definitely make sure you got hardness in the water. They're gonna want to eat a lot. I would say the water changes are up to you, and usually a signal for you'll need a water change due to um, overpopulation, which usually happens, and you'll start seeing the water turn a milky white. And once it's doing that, that's kind of a signal to your population is too much. And then I would definitely do a water change. But besides that, like if you just want to stay a routine water change, shouldn't have to do too much extra. All depends on the bio load and how much you feed them and how much the environment can take. And usually that white cloudy water will tell you, and or any smell. Like my tanks don't smell. If my tanks were to smell, then there's a problem with them. Lepardo0573 says, "Hey Lucas, I just placed my order for some pearly cherry shrimp and a pair of black koi guppies." Well, awesome, man. I really appreciate that support. Really, really appreciate it. And we'll have those out for you on Wednesday. Because that's when it ships the best, because usually everybody's around their house on Fridays and Saturdays. That and it forces it to get there before the weekend. Like sometimes if you ship on Monday or Tuesday, they'll hold it and won't even get it to the place on like Thursday or Friday. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Very, very helpful right now for the projects I'm trying to get done and into. Deacon Bean Cooter says, only one piece of Mopane wood continues to mold grow white film, even though I boiled the Mopane a lot, like 2-3 hours boil. Why the white mold growth? So there's some kind of like something like feeding biofilm off of it, and shrimp, fish, they absolutely love it. So you don't have to really worry about it. You're almost better off just putting it in a tank let it look bad, and then just let it kind of go through its cycle. Because sometimes when you do fight it, it'll just get worse. I don't know what kind of tank or fish you're planning on keeping in it, but if you have something that will eat it, which most like mouthy fish, plecos, guppies, even I don't know about tetras. I don't think they would mouth it too much. But mollies, rice fish. Oh, you said well for guppies. Never had guppies before. Is it a good vibe for a otherwise empty but planted 10-gallon? Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. If you've never had guppies, I'm gonna warn you. I'm gonna warn you. Like I grew up. I was in this hobby and I was with a lot of hardcore like fish breeders and like to the real hardcore fish breeders, guppies is kind of like a side thing. And there's something about them that there's so many different types, the way they swim, the genealogy of them, the lineage, the ways you can work the strain. Like they're so hard not to keep. And matter of fact, so many tanks in my barn are just full of antlers and guppies. As much as I don't really plan on it, they all often take over because there's just so many cool different types. And there'll be times where you'll get some strains that, they'll be around for a while, then they'll be completely gone. So sometimes it makes you feel like you got to hold on to those real good strains. But I would definitely recommend them, especially for a 10-gallon tank. They're awesome for no filter tanks. So if you got that low tech tank, low maintenance tank you want, oh, they're amazing for that. Queen Blah of Ghosting says, "Can you recommend aquatic plants that can survive winter outside?" So Vallisnerias do really good. Crypts do pretty good. And of course, this all depends on where you're at. But for as far as up north, those plants will do well for you. Some mosses, even up north. Pearlweed did good for me down here. Besides that, can't really give you much more. There's some like Luigias that do really good. Best thing to do is go somewhere into like the local waters and you'll see aquatic plants growing around you. And those ones that are native, they're gonna survive all winter long. They may hibernate, they may go back, but you'll still be able to see them as spring comes back. That's why if you do cold water changes on your cryptocorn plants, it'll make them pucker up and hide away and melt their leaves off. Michelle Angel says, "So my 55-gallon I just set up has hydra, I believe. What is the best fish to take their population or get rid of them completely?" Guppies are really good. Rice fish are really good. Mollies. Any real mouthy fish. Swordtails. I don't know how well plecos do. I can imagine some plecos might do all right with cleaning it up. I mean, you can use dog dewormer, but you do got to watch out for snails and any kind of worm body like fish. Uh, let's see. I don't know if quarter cats would or not. I haven't really tried it, but I could imagine they probably would because they're pretty mouthy. They just like to scavenge around and eat everything. It's weird that the only tank that smells, the one with the weird moldy Mapani wood, only one bedded in there. Yeah, I don't know if the bed is going to do much eating on it. And if you put shrimp in there, the butter's probably going to do the eating on the shrimp. Yeah, I would say just keep taking it out, rinsing it. Because if the wood smells, actually, what you could do is maybe sun dry it. Put it out on like a deck or patio if you have it, and sun dry it. And that would hopefully get the smell out and kind of dry out whatever's in it. So whenever you do put it back in it, it may take a while for it to come back if it does. And or just keep washing it off. Taking it out, washing it off, do your water changes. Because if it smells, you 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 want to clean it up to where it doesn't smell. It shouldn't smell. Even if it was just normal regular biofilm. Normally when driftwood is growing that normal regular biofilm, it really doesn't have a smell. If it smells like a sour wood or something like that, definitely want to take it out and sun dry it. Let's see. The vet says, "What is the relationship between calcium to magnesium ratios and freshwater systems and exoskeletal integrity in neocaridina shrimp during successive molting cycles?" The relationship between calcium to magnesium ratios? I don't know, because if you think about it, neocaridinas especially have molted in some wild parameters. So the ratio can definitely differ. Definitely helps to have some of it. I've never really seen them have too much of it, but I mean, I've seen them go pretty low. I don't know what the actual ratio is, so I'm not that sciencey of a guy. I know how to connect more into aquatics through experience and um, philosophical journeys, and these Q&As, which help me down those journeys, learning all these different things on this mass wide variated hobby. Fishy Business says, "How cold hardy are rice fish in a outdoor tub?" They are really cold hardy. So as long as it doesn't completely freeze over, then you'll be good. They're super cold hardy. I kept mine out all year round down here. And it got into the 20s. They didn't freeze over, but it got low. Willie Bond says, "Guppies are food." Yeah, some people. I don't know. Some of us, we love our beautiful guppies. And I know so many guys who have said that too, that they'll still throw their hand up as that auction for some guppies every now and then. Jessica Hussey says, "Ellerby, I'm looking for a blue Gularis female. I recently lost mine and haven't been able to find any locally. Do you by chance have any?" So I have some breeders, but I don't have any to sell, unfortunately. I do got a bunch of killifish, but I don't have any blue Gularis extra males or females at the moment. Matter of fact, the rack that I have been working on setting up is for hopefully getting into more of a dedicated blue Gularis production and try to scale that up a little more. So sorry I can't help you. Did you get a chance to go to that killifish convention? I could imagine they should have had a sake. I could imagine they would have had one or something. The vet says, "How does biofilm diversity within a mature freshwater shrimp tank influence juvenile survival rates and overall colony health and closed loop systems?" Oh, it definitely plays a huge vital role in their success rate. So just having that natural biofilm with shrimp being scavengers, that's all they do is pick around the aquarium the whole time. Great way to really develop that into shrimp tanks, and why they recommend leaves into a lot of shrimp tanks is because they will feed that biofilm in microbiology. And so by providing that biofilm in the tank that covers all around the tank, babies don't have to go too far to actually get a food source. And especially if they're trying to breed out in a protected area, such as a rock pile, like I like to do with my shrimp tanks, very, very vital to their success rate. If you got too clean of a tank and too sterile, a lot harder to get your shrimp to even breed, because believe it or not, the shrimp are a lot smarter than you would think they are. They're like ants. They're very, very brilliant, and they realize their environment. And if they don't feel comfortable enough to breed and know that their babies will have food, they just won't breed, or they may drop their eggs because they know it's not the proper environment. Because if their babies grow up and start out um, sourcing them, then that could be a problem for them. So shrimp are actually really smart about that. So dirtier the fish tank or shrimp tank you have, the better. Let's see. Trying to get back to the questions. Once I take my finger off of it, it makes me all the way back. Let's see. The vet says, at what point does a shrimp tank become less of an aquarium and more of a crustacean cult? With me just managing water parameters like their weird little god. I mean, it's all on how you look at it. The perspective and point of view of everybody is different, and I guess it all depends on what you're looking at it or how you're looking at it. Because at one moment it can be that, but at the other moment it can be the other. But at the reality, it's actually both, if not even more. So how do you really want to look at it? But no, it's definitely both. Right? Guppies do rule. The vet says, is it still called aquascaping, or have I just become an unpaid interior decorator for a bunch of shrimp? You judge my rock placement in silence. You know, great question. I love it. The vet also says, if my shrimp are ignoring the blanched spinach I lovingly prepared, does that make me a failed shrimp chef? Are they just on some mysterious crustacean keto diet? If they're not eating the blanched spinach, could have pesticides. Unfortunately, with a lot of the vegetables and stuff that we get, they get sprayed or put in this appeal machine, and the things they do to some of the produce is just stupid. It really is. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the fact that we don't really need our food to be that way, especially with the way systems can manage these days compared to how they used to manage. And just be careful. Actually, even if it rots out, it's going to end up causing green water, or algae will eat off of it, or it'll just become a part of the system, or maybe the microorganisms within your systems will break it down. Or maybe they don't like it blanched. Maybe they like it fresh. T Booty says, "Do you know any way to get rid of limpets in a shrimp tank?" Really, the only way to get rid of limpets that I've ever learned is to either smush them, which I won't. I'm not a fan of doing. I'm not going to do that, and or just put like a guppy or endler in there to nibble on them, and or just live with them, because they're only going to take over so much. They're not very big. They don't really do anything harmful to your ecosystem, and they actually will help clean the water quality of your system. So they're actually really beneficial. That says if my shrimp keep having babies faster than I can name them, at what point do I just accept I become the mayor of Shrimpville? Busting out the seams with guppy fry ish says, yeah, that'll happen too. But says, at what point does drip acclimating new shrimp become less about the science and more about the hosting a luxury spa experience they didn't ask for? Actually, it's true. They didn't really ask for that. And sometimes those drip acclimations can be more problematic than beneficial. So I'm a big, big, big fan of. Actually, I give fish baths. I don't just plop them in and then put them in the tank. What I do is I'll wash the water out from my fish and or shrimp that they came in with the bag, so they have nothing but fresh water that came from my well, which you can use either aged water or even distilled water or aquarium water, your aquarium water. But the main point to that is not mixing somebody else's water with your water, just for the pure fact is you don't know what's in that water, because that's where you tend to get those problems. Ever since I started washing my fish like that, and if you type in LRB fish baths, you'll get videos of what I'm talking about that give you the full like rundown. And they're pretty easy to do, and the success rate from after doing that has been humongous as far as not having to use medications and really deal with things as you would otherwise. And then after that, they go straight into the tank that they came into. The drip acclimating, when you do those, sometimes gases, ammonias, different things build up. And if you don't change them out of that water that they came in, then as you're drip acclimating them, although it's just a little bit dripping in there, it may not be enough to dilute the issues of the ammonias after they finally hit air and oxygen for the first time in a while. And you can usually tell that from the smell of them. Like, I've opened up bags before and just you can just smell the ammonia in it. And I've smelled them in shrimp bags too. So if you go drip acclimating a shrimp or fish in that, it could be a problem. That's a big why I'm not a fan of drip acclimating. I know a lot of people do it and it works well for them, but there is certain variables where it can become a problem opposed to the other way or the way I do it. Queen Blah of Ghosting says, what is the temperature in your fish room? So the temperature in my fish room usually sits around mid 70s. It'll vary from like 69 to 80 sometimes, depending on if I'm really running the air or just letting it naturally do its thing. I try not to let it stay hot for too long. As much as I would like to keep it a little warmer, my caradinas don't really like it too hot. Michelle Angel says, I will definitely try guppies, mollies, and cories. Can they kill baby fish if they are enough? Um, the hydras, can they kill the baby fish? Or will the other fish kill the baby fish? So it all depends on if you're talking about the fish. If the fish can fit in the other fish's mouth, definitely can. And if it's the other way around, if the hydra would eat the baby fish that, like, say, the guppies have, usually baby guppies and or mollies are too big for hydra to really get a snag of. And even by then, more than likely, those parents will have them cleaned up before then. Because they love to eat. They will find it, they will eat it. And thank you, Fish Family, for asking everybody to hit the like and subscribe button. Appreciate that. Not always the best at asking that. Matter of fact, I forget often. Joe MTL says, "Have you ever attempted creating new colors of cherry shrimp by mixing different colors?" Oh yeah, I definitely have. Matter of fact, I was on the frontier of doing a lot of that when shrimp first came out, and there was only cherry shrimp, and then they started coming out with the yellows, the oranges, and a few others, and then they told us that we shouldn't mix them. But then I had pretty much all the different strains, ended up mixing them all, and then ended up creating all kinds of different colors. Matter of fact, it will follow the color wheel. So if you are trying to get a purple, for instance, blue and red will make the purple. And if you're going for like a green, you got your orange and your yellow. Or I heard, no, I think, what is it, blue and yellow? We'll get your greens. And then you'll get like different patternings and stuff. Matter of fact, I've got a lot of older videos where I even have like purple, really neocaradinas. The only thing is I've only have so many tanks, and it's so hard to focus time and energy towards everything. And there's so many fish. Like I have troubles with space. Believe it or not, I have tons of aquariums, but I have so much troubles with not having enough tanks. Like even my Tanzanican cichlids, I feel like I gotta get rid of them because I don't have enough tanks. Same with that's why I don't work on a whole lot of shrimp projects anymore like that. Because I am working with other fish projects. One of my biggest things right now is really just building up a lot of the infrastructure to hopefully be able one day to focus more on things like that. But till then, I haven't really put that much time as I should into it. But that's why I try to mention it to others, hoping that they will, because there is a lot to still be opened within that category. It can be tough lining out certain colors and the way that they are recessive and or dominant. Because even still now, like finding like orange lines that don't throw red or get too red if you try to get too orange, that all becomes part of it too, the shades and colors. But you can mix them. And if you do mix them and you're trying to get new different types, pull the wilds out. If you pull the wilds out, then you'll keep that gene out of the colony. If you let the wild genes run, then yeah, a lot of them will turn into the wild genes. But even the wild genes can have a lot of color to them, to where you'll have the color of the shrimp, but then they'll just be striped like tigers, kind of. So it'll be like a wild green, wild blue, wild reds, wild yellows. I even had pink shrimp. I got it to the point where I did have pink shrimp, which was probably my hardest color. I did have a couple shrimp at one point that were red, white, and blue as well, which I have videos of all that stuff on my way, way, way back videos. Nerdy Fish says, if you had to keep one type of fish and one type of plant the rest of your life, what would it be? Sounds like a rough life. I don't know. Actually, glass catfish are awesome pearlweed. If I had to pick, it's almost like picking favorites, but not quite. I don't know, tough. Florida Girl Talk says, does Seachem flourish affect the water levels, or is it safe to help my plants as they're not doing so good in a 55 tank, only 2 months old? So I don't know what kind of plants you got and or where you got your plants, which can play a big role on how well your plants are doing. So if you got your plants from like say a big box store and not a hobbyist, more than likely they were grown in a farm, so they're going to take time to die back and then grow into their underwater form. Some of them they sell won't even grow underwater, unfortunately, but many that they do will. They just, their leaves will melt back. Look for the new growth. If you have new growth, then you're on the right path and things are going good. If you can, remove the decaying material, that way you don't promote algae from that. But as long as you got new healthy growth, I would say leave it be. You don't really need the Chem Flourish. Um, I'm not really sure what's all in the Flourish, but more than likely your water that you're putting in it, unless it's like RO water or distilled water, already has the nutrients that the plants will need. So I actually don't end up fertilizing much for my plants. Um, which it is good if you're starting off with like a clean slate. This is where fertilization and feeding your plants really comes together, because not everybody's water is the same. Some water is just loaded with iron. Some already has a lot of the magnesium. Some has absolutely nothing. I know some people's taps that are over on the west coast, northwest coast especially, where they got absolutely like no hardness, no mineralization that comes through. Like those people, that's where fertilizer really comes in handy for those type of people. But for like say the people in Indiana or up north in the Midwest where they've just got really hard water, tons of minerals, then it doesn't really do that much justice to fertilize the tank, because then just algae ends up growing off of it. So, saying that, with the Flourish, if it's just a fertilizer, because I'm not familiar with the products because I don't use any of them, I would use it sparingly. And you can't rush the growth of the plants so much. Water changes will actually help the growth of your plants more than anything. Don't do real big um, water changes. Just do like 30% tops. And those will actually help your plant growth more than anything, especially for transitioning from farm plant to aquarium plant. And Kaylee Van Lowe says, Saki was the sheep. Missed you speaking at the event though. Yeah, I really wish I could have made it, but it just did not work out. That makes sense to me. I had been wanting to go to that show for quite some time, actually. I've never been over in that area. Travis Head says, do all shrimp throw brown and clear babies, or do higher quality shrimp have all the same color babies? So if you're getting quality shrimp from like actual breeders, and I can't vouch for everybody, myself, I breed for the lineage to be as straight as possible. Some people, they don't care, and they have been like farming out shrimp or growing them into whatever and will sell them however, so you never know how their lineage will be. But yeah, it all depends on how the breeder actually took care of them. And usually the farm shrimp will definitely throw not what you expect them to. So if you do want some good shrimp to that throw what you would expect them to throw, LRBAquarks.com. I had put the time in. I put probably a decade in now on my shrimp lines. Especially my blue dreams. Those were the craziest ones to actually line up and get the mutations out of. Took like over 30 tanks for me to straighten them out. My reds never really had to worry about it because they were like OG cherry fire red shrimps. Back when that was all really available. Aquarium Fantasy says, Lucas, how many new aquariums did you get? I didn't really count. I think it was like 7, 14, 28, 39. No, 42. 42 new tanks. So yeah, I'm still trying to come back from getting crazy on the fish tanks sale too. I gotta catch up on my credit card on that one. Luckily, I got 0% APR for the next year, so hopefully I should be able to take care of that. But yeah, I had to break out the old credit card for that sale. Because not every day you have 125s, and I had to snag those 125s. Those things were not cheap. Monica WG says, any tips on breeding coolie loaches? So I've never actually personally bred them, but I do have a book that's not far from me. Matter of fact, I'll just talk to you guys while I go grab it. Because this was one of the first breeding books that I had gotten that really inspired me into getting into what I do, especially with breeding fish. Because it's my favorite. I absolutely love breeding different types of fish. Now, I've pulled this book out before, but it's the Practical Guide, Tank Master's Practical Guide to Breeding Your Freshwater Fish. And I remember in here they have like tubes and stuff that they use for the coolie loaches. Got cory cats, flagfish, licorice, gouramis, bettas, Udiids. Those Congo tetras. I don't remember the Congo tetras being in here. Here's the coolie loaches. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, and they got the harlequins, which the harlequins actually breed upside down. It's just them upside down. Coolie loaches, you can see the little setup here. I don't know if you need to take a screenshot of that. Leak. That'll help you out. It says tank measuring 24 12 by 12 inches. What is that? That's 10-gallon. Water lettuce, soft acidic water, below 50 ppm, pH 6.65. So acidic, soft water. Include plenty of plants, tubes, and caves for the adults to hide in. And I would recommend leaf litter as well. Leaf litter, huge benefit that these guys missed. And says, since the species tends to spawn in surface plants, including thick plant cover in the area of the aquarium, use plants that develop a good rootstock below the water surface, such as water lettuce, instead of plants such as duckweed. Yeah, so you want the long roots. Wonder if they have sticky eggs or not. They must have sticky eggs if they put them in the actual. I wonder if you could do spawning mops. Put them in the floating plants. I don't know, but that's about the best I can give you. I have not bred them myself personally. I do have some black coolie loaches I've been holding on to for a while. So I do plan on maybe one day messing with them. There's bucket fish. That, and I think my club's getting a bat program, so that would be cool. You guys don't know what that is? That is a breeding program. Freaker 710 says, do the steak Endler pair come as male and female? Yes, definitely so. Definitely so. And if you guys didn't know, I got the steak Endlers on for sale right now. Cheap too, compared to what a lot of people be asking for them. Let's see. Yeah, you liking that Monstera back there? Thanks, JP. This guy needs a haircut. Who? What guy? Kyle Hayes says favorite low pH fish to put with Caridina shrimp. I personally actually never have because I've always just babied my Caridina shrimp. I imagine the little rasboras, like the strawberry or chili rasboras, exclamation rasboras, kobatai, those kinds would do all right with them because they are a bit bigger than Caridina shrimp. I mean, they're not much bigger, but can be. Man, my hearing just went all weird. The whole frequency changed. Da-da-da-da-da. The actual 55 typo, what KH, PH, GH would you recommend for breeding shrimp? So if you got high KH and GH, you're definitely going to have high pH anyways. Unless you have like super acidic water that's just going to rip through that KH and GH. But depending on what type of shrimp, depends on that pH and GH. I mean KH and GH. And if you're trying to breed Caridinas, you want your hardness to be mostly in GH and not KH. Because those bicarbonates can be really hard for certain things to grow out of. Like shrimp can have troubles molting if they have too much KH in the water because it just hardens their shell too much that they just can't push through it. Same with plants, their plant tissue doesn't like KH. So if you're really trying to target your mineralization from like a blank slate, have it mostly GH unless you're trying to keep like guppies and hard water fish. Then you're going to want to introduce something like KH because they do prefer that. But when you're just talking about shrimp, Neocaradinas like the KH, the Caradinas do not. And you want to shoot around a 150, 180 TDS with mostly GH. Thing of that. And then your pH at that rate shouldn't really even matter. pH is a big goose chase. And if you type in LRB pH, I will have a video explaining why pH is a goose chase. A lot of people teach pH, have forever. It's the staple, and it's very misleading because it reads hydrogen molecules. That's why people get confused why there's pHs like this at one point and like something else at another point. Because it's all in its ability to hold those hydrogen molecules. And of course, the harder the water, the thicker the water, the denser the water, the more it'll hold it. Same as if you're injecting it through an airline. Because the atmosphere holds a lot of hydrogen. So if you're injecting a lot of atmospheric air, you're also injecting hydrogen. A big reason why I don't go off pH. TDS meters where it's at. If I'm ever gonna read water for anything, it's gonna be with the TDS meter. Brock 912. Brock says you have so many tanks. Do you know where everything is that you have and which tanks they're in? So I like to believe I do. There has been times where I've been like, "Oh, you're in there," but very rarely does that happen. Very rarely. Like a lot of my stuff, if I feel like I need to label it, I definitely label it. But even some still I don't. As far as like what babies are which, because some babies they all look the same until they actually grow out. About the only time I've got to actually label anything. But I know what I've got in my fish room because I've built it up. It's been like that for a long time. So I'm excited and can't wait to share more of what's going on over there with you guys. Super excited to have a editing spot that's really works for me. Finally. Queen Blood of Ghosting says, "Do you label your shrimp bloodline? Example, Lucas shrimp line." People at clubs and stuff often have labeled them as LRVs. Oh man, it splashed me right in the face to the point where it became like a brand name and everything. I think that's not the first time I've been wet in my face. But I don't specifically label them, but if people are selling them, often they would tell people that they were my line because people do know the people that do know of my line know the quality of them. Monica WG says, "Is the main problem with Buche that it grows slowly, or is it also temperamental?" So the big thing with Buche and why a lot of people don't grow it real fast underwater and why you don't see it much is the fact that it is a slow grower. It's a lot like Anubias, and so if you really want to grow it, you're going to want a big biomass of it. And it doesn't really like deep water as much as some other plants, so having somewhere shallow can actually grow it faster. Tuning in the light can sometimes play a role to where you can blast them with bright light, and you've got to have like some real high quality lights to like really hit them with the high white lights to really get a lot of growth like Tom Barr does. But I've got my buches. If I put them in that light, like underneath the shop light, like directly, they'll just grow algae. So what I actually do is I keep them in like my darkest tanks that barely have light over them, and they tend to do pretty well. Water changes definitely help them grow quicker, just with like a Nubius. Softer water helps because that KH that I was talking about, if they get KH buildup on their leaves, it can be harder for them to grow out. So if you have softer GH filled water that's been refertilized, say like RO water, have been remineralized to stay soft with more GH, then it'll grow pretty quick. But yeah, the real trick is having a big enough biomass to get it, and then especially if you're just getting it, it's going to take time for it to transition to its submerged form. Because often they're just grown pretty much towards the surface of the water or right out of the water. Willie Bond says, "I want to set this 50 up for a ghost shrimp, but what I really want is to breed a shrimp for food and algae eating. What species would recommend if you want enough for food here and there?" So there's actually grass shrimp that live all over America. They're like ghost shrimp, but they're freshwater grass shrimp. There's actually a bunch in my ponds here locally. So if I get a dip net and like go net up some algae along the shoreline, I'll find them, or in like any grassy type of area. Sometimes some stores have them as ghost shrimp. I don't know if you can buy them online. I thought about just like breeding them out at some point. I would like to set up a tank for just those, but I would try to find some American grass shrimp. Be a lot easier for you than a ghost shrimp. All right, trying to get back. Okay, Monica already answered that one. Robert Johnson says, "Are rainbow fry jumpy or can I go without a lid?" So the tiny, tiny little fry definitely cannot jump. The water surface tension just too much for them. It takes them a while before they're jumpy. So I don't. I still don't even use lids for my rainbows for the most part. I teach them not to jump. So believe it or not, and it may sound mean, but it's not because it's actually better than the fish jumping out of the water. You can take the rainbow fish out of the water, let them flop around, and he'll quit freaking out after a while, and he'll realize that he doesn't want to be outside of the water, and then after that, they won't jump. They're actually really smart too. They're really good at communicating with each other. And also having top coverage and making sure it's not in a space that where you're just coming through the door and going to surprise them plays a big role too. Because usually when rainbow fish do jump, it's usually that one tank that's like right in that walkway where you're just coming in, flipping on the lights, your shadow hits it, and woof, they get scared and freak out and fly off. So as long as you can keep from doing that, it makes a big difference. My water is from Berkeley filter, which also removes fluoride. Add Seachem Prime, Seachem Stability only. And thank you for answering my questions. Yeah, around here, if you check out my channel, we don't use a lot of products at all, if any. Matter of fact, I don't use any products. I do have well water. If you're using a Berkeley filter, you don't need the Prime or the Stability because you're getting your chlorine and chloramines out. That's the main thing with people's water when they first get fish is if it has chlorine chloramine. That's why we do use certain chemicals. That would be the only reason I would use any kind of chemical would be a dechlor for that reason. Besides that, you really don't even need it because then you're just dumping stuff you don't need into the tank and spending money on it that you don't need to. Sounds like they're getting good water. And if you want to make your water even better, if you got that Berkeley filter, I recommend a carbon filter on your house line. They're pretty cheap. You can get them at Home Depot. It's a carbon filter. And what it does is it removes the chlorine and chloramine before it actually gets into your Berkeley filter. So that way your Berkeley filter's not capturing a bunch of chlorine and chloramines that can build it up in it. It's just another safeguard for you. Jake says, how can I convince my wife to allow me more tanks? So you don't convince them, you just do it. And if they really love you, they'll support you. Mark says, have you had a green jade shrimp? So I actually do have a line of green jades. The only issue with my line of green jades is that it is tucked over into a corner that doesn't get very much light, and I can't see how good the line actually is. I have a feeling that it's actually a lot better than what I think it is because most of them all look the same as far as just like in dim light. But I need like more of a direct light into them and time to actually look through them. But I should do that. But I do have them. They had thrown some yellows, but I think I divided most of the yellows out of them through time. I haven't seen any yellows in their tank for a long time. But that's not saying that some of them are just darker, like a brown or something or black. Willie Bond 007 says, if you make money on your fish, it's kind of easy. Doesn't she like fish at all? Yeah, see, there you go. If you make money off of it, then it's really harder for them to complain. Although, even this still sometimes can be tough. All right, I do not know how far I am from the bottom of the chat. I'll scroll down there because I know we're well over an hour. I like to help you guys out with your questions. Robert Johnson says, when my Bosemani breed, I noticed a lot of eggs fall down and don't stick to the spawning mop. Is it worth putting a mop at the bottom, or will those be fertilized? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe some don't all stick the same. Their eggs usually are very, very sticky. And I don't know, it'd be worth a try if it's a lot of eggs. Best way to do that is just through experience yourself. If it only seems like a few eggs, like it doesn't really matter your time, then I don't know. I can't really tell you because the chance of them being fertilized, they should still be fertilized. Lucas, do you breed shrimp and fishes like F1, F2, F3, F4s? No. So the difference with shrimp, like I never add anybody else's shrimp lines into my shrimp lines because knowing what's in their shrimp line and it breeding out later, I've done it. I did it before, and luckily I always back up my lines. But you can muddle your lines up by mixing them. And usually the colony and community is big enough that it keeps enough diversity that I've never had to worry about it, interbreeding and stuff. Hmm. Jason Fleermo says shoreline for shrimp in your Florida. You're wrestling gators in your spare time. I do. Actually, all these gators around here are little anyways. I still yet to see the big old like 10, 15 footer where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a gator. All the other ones I've seen, I'm like, oh yeah, I could take that gator easy. A good sandwich. JP Jeffries says, could I cut one large slot of holes to stuff sponges into a overflow for my 150-gallon Rubbermaid? Yeah, that's what I do. That's how I do mine. Brian Fantasy says, Lucas, how big are you going to build the greenhouse? It's going to be pretty good size. Pretty good size. More of a lanai than a greenhouse. Citywide says, what are you mostly breeding out in the tubs? I am in Tampa. Want to keep a few 25-gallon planters and would like to breed. Any suggestion on fish that would work well? Um, in Tampa, you keep a lot more than me because you stay a little bit warmer. But I've been doing a lot of rice fish, um, and some live bears, Mexican live bears. I don't want to give away all my secrets. Jake says, "Where's a good place to find a pistos in USA?" That's a good question. I know my boy Daku Aquatics has some nice rams. Those aren't quite a pistos, but dude, I don't know anybody that really specializes in pistos off the top of my head anymore. Coaches Aquatics says, "Did you have luck with your Dalmatian mollies outside? I watched the vids, but wasn't sure what you put in them, what you got out. So I got a bunch out of them. Matter of fact, I've got a 75-gallon that has a bunch of them and two 40s. And I'm also trying to mix them with some swordtails, seeing if those will mix. I don't know if that works that way, but um, I have been still selectively breeding for like certain traits, so I do got some outside too. I believe I have them. I should have some on the website. There might be a couple pairs left. Aquarium Fantasy says, Lucas, what is the next event you're going to this year? A club meeting. That'll be my club meeting. But besides that, I don't know. I don't have anything really tied down. I've had some clubs ask for talks, some places I want to go. But as far as like an event, I don't know. Takes the right person talking to me just right. Then I'll know. And then I'll know. Ish Lopez says, is keeping your tank cool for the summer a major concern if you don't want to run central the whole time? It would be here if I didn't want to run central. It would get pretty hot, and it's really only for the Caradinas. Those shrimp, they just love to be cooled. So they love it like more in the lower 70s. It gets too hot for them. They don't care for it too much. Besides that, just for my comfort. And you got to think too, when things do run hotter, a lot of the microbiology runs a lot more too. What color are breed of swordtails? Just the regular orange ones. But all right, I appreciate all you guys joining me for this live stream, this Q&A. I'll have a video out for you guys tomorrow. Lots of shorts coming out. I've got lots of videos shot for you guys. I'm really, really excited to get more connected with you guys and share a lot of what's been going on here, what we've been doing for it. And thank you all so much for your patience and support. Until next time, everybody, peace. Have a great one. Dun 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 dun.